Hey everyone, God bless you. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I have a reflection for you today I've entitled Misinformation. I have 5 points that I'd like to share with you if you give me your ears just for a moment. Number 1 is that I want you to see my marvelous, complete Oxford English Dictionary. That's right, this is a 20-volume edition in one edition. Usually you find the Oxford Dictionary in 20 volumes, but in the early 90s, they published it in a 1-volume edition. You have to use one of these powerful magnifiers just to read the words. But I want you to know something. This dictionary has been fundamental for English speakers for many, many moons. Guess what's not in this dictionary? As much as you look, there is no word misinformation, there is no word disinformation, and there are no words hate speech. Why? Because they're nonsense words that have been made up in recent times for very poor reasons. We have traditional words that cover speech, like defamation. And defamation in oral speech we call slander. Defamation in written form we call libel. And these are actionable offenses. These are offenses that you can take a person to law over. But we don't have misinformation. This is my first point. My second point, misinformation as a word and disinformation, we can say the same, and hate speech, we can say the same, is absolutely meaningless. The reason it's meaningless is because it has no foundation. There is no definitive controller of what is true. To say something is misinformation is an opinion. To say that something is, it's like saying something is wrong. Well, that's great. People are free to think and speak about a matter that they think is wrong. That should not be forbidden. That cannot be forbidden in a free society. And to say something is misinformation is simply to give your opinion. And it should have no greater expression or definition than that. It is essentially meaningless since it has no foundation, no truth control, no truth root. Number 3, the word misinformation, disinformation, and the words hate speech, these words are the tools of tyrants. These are employed by people who want to stop people from sharing their opinions. They want to control the narrative, and they don't mind eliminating people's freedom to speak in the process. It's a great irony of our times that the very people who championed free speech just 50 years ago today are attacking it like the 60s never happened. George Orwell, in his classic 1984, which I had to read in high school. I don't know if kids still read that book. It's exceedingly relevant, far more relevant today than it was back in the 70s and the 80s. He had there something he called a ministry of truth, those who determine what is true, those who project their own mind and demand that everybody think that the way that they think. This idea of using misinformation is a way to control disagreements. It's a way to shut down valuable debate. It's a way to close the mouths of the critics of the powerful. And so it should be called what it is, a vicious tool of authoritarians who want to control our lives. Number 4, to show how relevant Orwell really is, just this year, our Department of Homeland Security under Secretary Mayorkas literally chartered a disinformation governance board, that had the purpose of controlling speech, as though the First Amendment to the United States Constitution did not exist. Not only did Secretary Mayorkas oversee the establishment of this board. He did it without shame. This is a man who has presided over the grossest violation of our immigration law in the history of the United States, who has overseen a completely open border, and without blinking an eye in public testimony has affirmed that our border is secure, while privately acknowledging that it isn't. This is the man who's going to oversee the Disinformation Governance Board. Could it be more ironic than that? Could it? I really doubt it. What a hoot! What a grotesque tragedy in the United States. This land that have championed freedom from its founding. Thank God, according to Mayorkas, due to the uprisings of right-wing extremists, the board was shut down after 3 weeks. And it was shut down, interestingly, providentially, on the 24th of August of this year, August 24th, 2022, which just happens to be the feast of that marvelous recent saint, Saint Cosmas Aetolos, the great preacher, who was on that day killed in what is now Albania by the Muslim Pasha for speaking. Evidently, St. Cosmas preaching the gospel in Muslim lands was propagating misinformation and was hung because of it. Lastly, dear ones, this is no surprise to Christians. The fact that we would see this as the Christian faith declines in the West, we see the progressive abandonment of freedom. Christians have had speech laws thrown at them and have been persecuted and killed for saying the wrong things, even though they're true, for 2,000 years. The Romans, they killed us for saying that there are no gods. There's only one. And for saying that their idols were demons. The Muslims killed us for saying that Muhammad was a false prophet and that Jesus is the Son of God and was crucified on a cross. The communists killed us. Well, they killed us for everything. But the communists killed us for saying Christ is risen. And now the secularists want to shut us up for saying that marriage is between a man and a woman, that an unborn child in the womb is a human being, and for saying that it's impossible to change your sex. Christians never, because we love God and we love people, Christians ought never do anything except speak the truth in love, whatever the consequence. God is the defender of truth, and it will have its day, and it will win. But may the words misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech be banished from the face of the earth, eradicated from the English language, and may they have no future in the United States of America. God be with you.
Patristic Nectar Publications is pleased to present a 9-part lecture series entitled My Life in Christ, the Life and Teaching of St. John of Kronstadt. This series consists of 2 parts. The first consists of 4 thematic lectures given in 2022 by Father Josiah Trenham to the St. John Chrysostom Catechetical School in Riverside, California. The second part of this series are 5 talks given by His Grace, Bishop Basil of Wichita, to a men's retreat in Kansas in 2008. St. John of Kronstadt, the wonder worker, served God in Russia during the second half of the 19th century and fell asleep in Christ in 1908. His life, miracles, and teaching have been cherished by believers as God's love gift to the Church and to the world on the cusp of the 20th century, the most violent century in the history of humanity. These lectures and discussions reveal the beauty of a life lived supremely in and for Jesus Christ, the Lord. For these and other available titles, please visit our website at patristicnectar.org.